a significant difference between Love Story and Romeo and Juliet is that in Romeo and Juliet, the theme is actually the war between the two houses. That's the bane of their existence. That's the mechanism that causes all of their problems. And here in Love Story, there is no issue. It's put in by making him very rich, like ridiculously rich, and her very common, normal working class. That's it. That it doesn't really create any issues. It just is. At the most, it would have been like, Oliver's father wouldn't accept her as a candidate, and he kind of doesn't. But it's all a little bit kind of. It's not. Yeah, I mean, he does tell Oliver that if he continues with her, then he won't be paying for his education anymore. Yes, it's there, but it's nowhere near in the region of like lethal. The lethalness in this story literally has to come from biology. It has to come from she's got whatever it is.
Bad luck.
Yeah, just bad luck, just horrible. And this is one of the things that I always say Love Story is a prime example, is the example of breaking all the rules and doing it so well that it works, is that Oliver tells us that she dies at the beginning of the movie. Like literally, it is sentence number 3, well, sentence number 2. In fact, it's the second half of the first sentence. So we know what's gonna happen. Why are we even watching this movie? It's just, you're done. He gave away the plot. Bye.
You want to know why it matters.
For some reason, it's such a hook that he loves her and she dies. And it's, for some reason, it is an essential thing that we now go, tell us how it happened. Tell us everything. And even if it is the most banal detail, and if the people aren't perfect, and there's so much like, oh, couldn't it have been this or that? Couldn't it have been more interesting, more sensationalist? No, it's enough. It's good. It works. And she still dies. You know she's gonna die. It's like, what? This is one of the examples of films that just does as good as everything correctly. But not entirely, and we will talk about it. But the pacing is amazing. I love this movie, and I've seen it plenty of times, and then you go watch it again and you're going, oh, I hope it doesn't suck, because if it does, in light of like I'm gonna do a review about it, then it would be, oh dear. But it keeps on going. You could have made this now. Same shots, same dialogues, everything. You could have made it and it would work. I will have issues with it, certainly if you do it now, because one of the things that was, it's kind of telegraphed at the beginning when he says, what do you say about a 25-year-old woman who died? Is that it's Oliver's story. It's not her story. It's not a story of two houses. It's not a story of two anything. It is purely what he sees, how he experiences everything.
But isn't it always the person who lives after who tells the tale?
Yeah. Yeah, so he is telling us this is what he experienced. Which is not really how I always viewed the film. I viewed it, okay, that's a nice way of framing it, and now here's the two protagonists. But it's not. You don't really see her. There's only one shot of her when she's not with him, and that's the moment when she's on the phone with her father, and he has just walked into the building and is about to talk to her. I believe that's the only shot where we see her, and he's not in the scene.
But the thing opens with him as the POV character, so it is telling you honestly.
Yeah, yeah, they are, and the film is super honest. That's lovely about it. She's not perfect. He's not perfect. She's kind of perfect. He's not perfect, and he's okay with that. She's okay with that. You've got the, love means never having to say you're sorry. That's pretty lame, really. The only reason that that's sold quite well is because two incredibly wonderful actors with, as in wonderful as in like we would love to be friends with these characters. We would love, it's just wonderful. You get the warm fuzzies from all of them. And so when they say something like, "Ah, that's very sweet," when actually,
Corny as heck.
yeah, not, well, it's corny as heck, but it's also wrong. Of course you have to say sorry. Come on. It just, I think what they're alluding to, this like film shorthand or romance movie book shorthand, is if somebody apologizes to you for having done a bad thing in the relationship, then you love them enough that you say, that's fine. We learn, we go on. And he does. He learns almost from every scene where he's with her. He learns to be a better person, to actually, and there's a lot of banter, so they're laying the ground. I mean, we've had a lot of banter movies, romance movies, from all the way from, what's the film again with Clark Gable, and
It happened one night.
it's, it happened one night, all the way up to this. You have banter between the two love interests, and that's awesome. I mean, I've even seen reviews of this film saying that that it's too much based on banter and that there's nothing much to it because she just gets to the banter. But if we think of it in terms of this is his POV and he really appreciates her for her forthright banter, she's willing to say what it is because she's just like, you're gonna ask me out, and then I like your body and things like that. It's like, I think that's what a guy would love to have happen and would love to hear. So in that sense, it's also Oliver's story because it's his point of view. Whether or not she actually, if there were real people, she actually said that. That's what he heard, and it lands well with him. He likes it. He's into that, and that brings me to something that's not overt in the film, but it's much more in the book. Is they are both very intelligent. He doesn't study, but once he does study, he gets he's like third highest place in his entire year. So, and then he didn't get in the book. He goes on about he's also going to get the best job to create a life with her because they were going to have children right off because that's what she wanted.
Bozo.
Yes, Bozo. Bozo needs feeding eventually. So he gets the best job that he can. He gets the best job of all the people that were on the top echelon of graduating that year.
But isn't it like a normal progression that a guy who has medium amount of ambition meets a lovely girl and suddenly gets a major amount of ambition for the girl and Bozo?
Yeah, because he now sees a future. He sees what he could be. He could be the daddy. He could be her husband and supporting the kids. It's a perfectly wonderful thing for a guy to want. And he's got, so if we refocus on Oliver, he is the top echelon of dudes in America. He is high, upper class. His parents have an estate.
He's the guy most likely to become president.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it could as well had the name Kennedy attached to this family. And it's short-sighted writing. You always see this, and I've complained on this channel about this before. They're both only children. Of course, they're not both only children. So in my mind, there's a couple of siblings, probably younger siblings running around for them. But that's just, no, they wouldn't be only children. Neither one of them. That's just silly. But for story's sake, they're only children. And then his father cuts him off because he's going to be with Jenny. And so now they're poor. So now he has to work and study. And he has to study very, very hard. Because he gets the ambition that we were just talking about. I think that's just really good for him. A guy handed so much to him, and his only complaint is that his father has ideas of what he should be. Of course, his father has ideas of what he should be. He's been giving everything to this young man. So if he's doing that, he's like he will want his son to be X, Y, and Z and go into the business and get the high whatever law degree. Now he does get the law degree, so that wasn't even the problem. It's not like he wants to be an artist and his dad wants him to get a law degree. So these things is like, how much handed to you can you get? Everything was handed to him. And then she says, preppy. She says, if you want me, just do it because you want me, because otherwise, I'm out of here. And he says, I do, because she's the only one that is actually interesting. You also don't really see him going from girl to girl, where his friends, his roommates, his like long list of roommates, are all going from girl to girl. And they're like, why is he already stuck on this one woman? And it's like, oh god, it's Cavallari again. That's interesting, because they do, then you get a little bit of more of a larger world around them, because there's not a lot of characters in this film. It's just him, just her, and just her dad, and just his parents. And only of the parents, the father, because who cares about the mother? The other mother had already been killed off by the writer, so we don't have to deal with the mother. Yeah, it's interesting. So I do have some beef, but it does work, and that's interesting. So this film is more about how to tell a story well, than that it actually makes sense. There's, I believe, a lot of shortcuts for cinematographic reasons. It's like the winter. It's almost entirely winter in Boston for them. It's not set in just one season. It's about a year and a half. So you would have multiple seasons, but we mostly just see the winter.
It's always winter in Boston. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, I mean, and then... So it can actually double for a Christmas movie, because there are Christmas scenes and it is very wintry. So any excuse to watch it is a good excuse as far as I'm concerned.
And therefore we are watching it in the middle of summer.
Yeah, right now it's middle of summer, so hey. The clothing is a homage to the 70s, but this film is actually not flower power at all. It is actually the opposite. This film is very much establishment, because he comes from establishment and he rebels against it, but not in a 1970 way, because in 1970 rebelling against establishment meant you refused to go fight in the war. And there's nothing like that here. They are doing their degrees, which is also part of establishment, and he's going to become a lawyer. He's going to wear a suit and tie. How much more establishment can you get? That he's doing it for very good reasons, for the right reasons, is very lovely for our story. But it's skipping over the whole that thinking that direction skips over what this film is actually saying. It's saying there is no Vietnam. There is no issue. We are not talking about that. There is no youth movement for gaining more freedoms. And then we finally come to Jenny a little bit and going, how feminist is she? Not very, actually. She has a good gap. They are not religious, the two of them. And that's their stance against the establishment. We're not so hot on God, so we're kind of not doing that either. But they're doing everything else. She works while he studies, while he gets his master's degree, his law degree. And then once he's done, he's like, and now you're going to Juilliard, right? And you're going to Paris now. And she's like, no, now I want babies. She's all of 24. in 1969, that may have been a very perfectly normal thing to think, because at 19 you were kind of considered an old maid. At least 10 years before that you were. But at 24 in 1970, come on. There's no reason whatsoever for her to pump out babies if she has the possibility to go to Juilliard. And she has the possibility to get her year in Paris. Why would you possibly say, why would it be her choice to say, now we want babies? And the film makes it an absolute point that she said it, that it was her wish, and that he just plain does what she wants. But she conveniently wants what establishment likes, which is she gets no life, she gets to make his babies, and he gets to have a life. So, in that sense, this is not at all a feminist movie.
Well, it's written by a guy, directed by a guy.
And it's about a young man. This is the same as Oliver Barrett IV is the same as Luke Skywalker. He just happens to have a lot more money. But Luke Skywalker was kind of a prince as well, because he was the heir to all of this Force stuff. The people who are running the universe right now is who he's the son of. So he's a prince. And this guy is for Boston. Oliver is a prince. And nobody treats him that way, except that society has put him on the highest rung and he will never have to worry about anything. And he still doesn't. The only thing that he can't control is biology. So now it's not even his dad. It's not even fighting the class system. Because her dad has said yes. So, okay, yeah, you want to marry him? Awesome. His dad, okay, cut him off for it. But that wouldn't have lasted forever. The mother would have eventually... If the mother had been written right, it would have happened way before.
And if he is credibly to be the one child, they would have taken him back because they don't have another option.
They're gonna have babies, and then there'll be grandchildren. So the grandchildren, that's the moment where the grandmother says, or his mom would say,
Bozo is good enough for me.
Yeah, Bozo will be part of this family. And so in that sense, the film is even worse in the feminist department, as in not, because the mother didn't come into play saying, knuckleheads, how dare you? We managed to squeeze out one son, because clearly it was a problem. Otherwise there would be plenty of kids. And now you're actually cutting off that son? No, not happening. And we've seen much more kick-ass women in the 30s, in film, in the 40s. Generally not so much in the 50s. And the 60s...
Some, but not...
less than the 30s. So it is coming out of a wave of establishment that happened post Second World War. And this movie is not quite out of it. Now, when I was 15, I watched the movie, I didn't see all that. So you can still watch the movie and not have a problem with it. It's just that when you start putting a lens on and going, what's actually happening, going, that could have been a lot better. But that's the problem with you've got male writers, men writing women, and it looks like Erich Segal is trying to write men as much as possible and avoid the women. Because if you go to the next story, which is Oliver's story, which I'm not reviewing here right now, they made a film of it and there's a book and I read the book and it's just literally Oliver and his dad and her dad. Any other woman who comes into play is going to be much less of a figure than Jenny was, and Jenny is only marginally actually a person because she's more of like a perfect thing that a young man would love to have.
And then she's dead.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it's like Arnold said in Torchwood Trilogy, it's easy to love someone who's dead. They make so few mistakes. Actually, they could have learned something from Arnold. And this movie has no LGBTQ bubble whatsoever. There's just nothing. I can't even conjure anything up here. It's just not. But it doesn't have enough characters to find anything extra. And everybody is quite essentially what they are. So it's more of a everybody's more conceptual, I think, than actual people. And the pacing of the film is like that because you go from scene to scene and it's really beautifully paced. You move along because we're just doing broad strokes, and it works. So this is Arthur Hiller and of course Erich Segal as the writer. They found a way to tell a story that just, it breaks loads of rules, and it absolutely works. And I would love to see a breakdown of what works about this film, like by people who study this for, their career and stuff. It's like, tell me why all this works. Famously, the scene with the snow angels and the fighting, the snow fights, but not actual fights, but the fun in the snow, was put in afterwards because they had a cut that didn't have that, and there was a lack of build up of their happy relationship. And I fully agree with that, because the scenes, you can have them bicker together. They always come at the end of the scene, they always come like out on top together. There's of course the scene where he shouts at her, she runs away, and then he finds her, and that's a scene that I was looking at because I knew all this stuff was coming up. I've seen it multiple times, and I was like, how will that hold up? Now you've got the music going over when he starts running, he starts searching for her. I timed it. It's 3.5 minutes that he starts out there and he goes, and the music swells, and without the music it wouldn't have worked. But how do they know that this does work for 3.5 minutes of him just out there looking for her? I don't think they would dare to make that nowadays. They would probably keep it to 30 seconds. But it really works, and it really builds stuff up, and you get worried, and you start hoping for him that the next time he opens the door at the music center that she would be behind it, and she's not, because I know she's on the steps outside their house waiting for him. And it's just so good. And then the payoff is really short. She says the line, da da da, never needing to say you're sorry, and then he just looks at her and off to the next thing. It's just, I think it's exceptional. I don't know how they do it. I love and adore Ryan O'Neal. I really don't know many people who dislike him, but I could see that. I mean, it's a certain flavor of guy. And then, of course, Ally MacGraw. Absolutely perfect. I have seen reviews saying she's not. Your mileage may vary. Yeah. I like her. It was her second feature motion picture. But what we do need to remember is that without her, this movie would not have been made. She was married to a producer. The producer found the script, gave it to her. Would you like to do this? And she then went to bat for the script because people were like, what is this? What is this story? Makes no sense. Probably the same things that I was like, you're telling already the beginning that she's gonna die. It's like, and the rest is nothing but they just have a relationship. It's like, what? And she wanted to do this film. So without her, this film wouldn't have been made. And I did the calcs, and this is $1 billion film. They hold in $1 billion in current day money, not in then day money, but if you calculate it to now, it's as big as Barbie. And the film was that big. It was before I was born, just. So I wouldn't have been there to experience it. But what they did is they had, Erich Segal had the short story that he wrote, and he had a short story, a short script, and that had been sent around. Then somebody picked it up, and they decided that he was going to write the novelization. The novelization, through many things that happened, came out before the film came out. And at that point, the film hadn't been made yet, and it became a runaway success. And it was, I'd have to maybe look it up, but it was on the New York bestselling list for an incredible amount of time. So by the time that they were going to cast, they had Ali MacGraw, but they were going to cast Oliver. It was, everybody knew this was the big thing. It was like Gone with the Wind. It had just come out. Everybody wanted to see the film. So, and when I saw the film, in all the years past, I didn't know any of that. I was like, oh, it's just a really cool movie. But the fact that people knew that this was coming up, and yeah, that's a lot of pressure really on those actors. I believe Ali MacGraw had decided, or it was Ryan O'Neill, and they had decided to just plain assume that nobody was ever going to see the film, because otherwise they'd be too nervous to make it. And just, I can't fault them for anything. All the characters are good. It's just good. I give this film 2 thumbs up. If I had 3, I would use 3 thumbs. So, 3 thumbs up. If you love romantic films, if you love dramatic films, if you love cozy films, if you love to cry, because of course there will be crying, this is the film for you. If you want to watch it at Christmas, if you want to watch it in the middle of the summer, you just go, oh, it's nice and cool. There's nice snow scenes. Whatever. Any excuse is good enough. If you want to watch the wonderful wardrobe of Jenny and the hairdos and the crazy glasses that she uses, it's like, what? That's actually a fun little detail, that she does wear glasses and she has them on, and every time she goes somewhere she takes them off before it's like, that's so 1950s, so 1960s. It's like, I'll only have my glasses on when I'm teaching or when I'm playing music.
At any other time I'll just walk into a mall.
Yes. So we're back in How to Be a Millionaire and
Marilyn Monroe. 1953.
Anyway, 1950s. And so they really, it took them such an ungodly long time. And one of the things that I think changes things is The Graduate, which comes out like the year, maybe 2 years before this. The Graduate does hit it hard and say, okay, we're these same kind of people, same society, being geared towards the suit and tie and stuff. Oliver's story is completely different than the guy in The Graduate. He's going to do the rebellion, and maybe this film is like, established America was probably super happy to watch 2 very wholesome young people doing what they consider to be the wholesome thing, even though the banter says they don't want to, but their action says that is actually they do. And that's why it is kind of a blueprint for the Hallmark style romance films, because of course not the dying at the end, that's not going to be in any Hallmark film, but the kind of like, old establishment is actually quite cozy and lovely. That vibe is in here. And it just works. It still works. Is it what we really should want in actual life? No, but romance is not... the romance genre is not exactly a blueprint for leading your life. But it's good entertainment. And this works very much. And I love it. I especially love the banter. I also recommend the book, which is actually better. And that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.